get started on S33. I would like Rebecca Wasserman to walk us through um, the um, the latest draft and uh, try and be as brief as I want you to go through the whole thing, but try and be as brief as possible on issues that we've gone through before and there hasn't been any controversy, so we can perhaps get this done in a half hour.
May I just ask a question, Michael?
Yeah.
What are the sort of big, just remind me, what are the big decision points we still need to make on mini TIFs?
There aren't really any big ones. I think there are a couple of ones that I was asked for, and Rebecca can go through Becky can go through those. Uh, I I said, here's my suggestion, and the committee may disagree with the suggestion, but what I'm relying on are decision points that are probably more in the purview of finance. So we keep the ball rolling, and then we'll have bigger discussions in the finance committee on those few decision points. I think we did make decisions on the number of TIFs and how long the pilot would be. I think it was 15 over 5 years, or I can't remember. It's in the draft. Those were a big decision point.
Okay,
There's
and
one
the
other,
cap.
there's one other issue that is still out that Megan will describe to us. It sort of has to do with timing when the incremental values start kicking in. Um, Trying to think if there was anything else.
And I have these all highlighted in the draft.
Oh, okay. Oh, great. Okay.
That's helpful.
And we do need, I don't know if you saw the email, we were looking to you, Senator Clarkson, for a definition on how far you want to go into industrial parks. So I don't know if Becca has.
I have an idea for that.
Okay, so we'll talk
And
about
Kate,
that.
I think Kate McCarthy had an idea. Too.
Okay.
I will
Keep in mind, we want to get this out very quickly now. Okay?
Yeah, I will. Yeah.
Okay, Becky, your show.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Becky Wasserman, Legislative Counsel. I'm just going to pull up on the screen a copy of the draft. Just make this a little bigger. Is that okay for everyone?
Yes.
Okay, so this is draft 1.2 of the amendment to S33, which deals with the project-based tax increment financing. Just quickly going through section 1, this has to do with the districts. This does not have to do with this particular program, but it is referencing what is in statute right now with respect to the districts. And there's a list of all the districts that have been approved, and it was missing a couple of the approved districts. So it is updated to reflect what all the districts that have been approved to use education tax increment. And this list is referenced, cross-referenced in the new project financing. So that is why it is being updated. And if I'm going too fast, please stop me. And section 2 is also kind of doing a cleanup with respect to that list of districts. As you recall, a few years ago, the legislature decided to put a cap on the number of TIF districts that could be approved, and that was 6. So because we've added Bennington and Montpelier, you'll see on page 2, line 16, it's now reflected in statute that the cap is 4 because 2 have been added. And it reflects that it says not more than 2 per county on line 17. So there is a change on page 3 to reflect that there's only 1 more that can be added to Bennington and Washington counties because of those TIF districts that were added.
I don't want to slow this down. This is really cleanup, but this seems very strange to me that we're changing the law as we go to accommodate what's going on in the world. I mean, you pass a law, you say 6 people are on record, they know their two have been done. Why do you have to change the law every time a new district is put in? It doesn't seem like common sense approach to this, you know. Is there any reason why we're doing this? There'd be, in my mind, there would be no different effect whether you left it at 6 or 4, because everybody would know 2 had already been used up.
Yeah, this was a comment that was raised by the auditors to sort of clarify that those 2 had been used up. I think it's a little sort of strange and in general that the list is in statute. Typically, this kind of thing would be in session law because
Right.
it's changing over time, and so it does require sort of constant updates. So another option could be to put
No, let it go. You've clarified for me, because that list is in there and that's being updated. This is sort of an anomaly, but this would not be the way it would normally be done. But
No.
just to leave it, let's leave it there. Okay, let's move on.
Okay. So section 3 is now we're moving on to the actual pilot program for tax increment financing projects. The definitions have very similar definitions to what is in place for TIF districts. So some of the decision points, unless you want me to go through all the definitions, but I can tell you where some
No,
decisions.
I don't. But if you see a marked departure, for instance, from what we passed out last year out of this committee, that might be helpful. But if it's similar to what we passed out, or if it's similar to what exists for the districts, I don't think we need to go too
Okay.
deep into it.
Sure. So on page 4, under the definition of financing, I just wanted to highlight, starting on page 18, that this is a little, sorry, on
Line 18.
line 18, thank you. This is a little different from the TIF districts with respect to the use of bond anticipation notes. The committee, I think, has decided that they want to sort of put limitations around when those can be used for the projects. This is not in place for the TIF districts. Although it was just discussed last year to do that. It just,
Right.
that
So
bill didn't move forward.
this is one of the issues I was asked about, and this is the preliminary decision to give a little bit more flexibility to these small districts, not districts, small projects, in terms of advanced bond anticipation notes. But this will be a subject in finance for sure. So I think we should just let it go at this point and see if finance agrees with this approach.
Question regarding the definition of improvements. Is that any different than in the TIF bill that we've had in the past?
This is different than what's in statute for TIF districts in the sense that on line 4, you've added in the ability to use funding of debt service interest
Right.
payments for up to 5 years. This was in the bill last year.
Yep.
And it was in a TIF district bill last year, but those did not make it through the process.
Okay.
And
In
Senator
terms of the other portion of the definition, beginning on line 1, is that the same as we have now?
If it's not the same, it's similar, but I will have to check.
Okay.
Or maybe Megan knows off the top of her head, but I think it is very similar.
I believe it's the same.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The only thing I was concerned about is there were some issues in the St. Albans TIF audit regarding just replacement of dirt, for example, in terms of building something, as to whether the dirt was an improvement that was authorized, or whether or not it was something that was added to what the builder was building for the project. And that was a real lack of clarity. You remember that?
I do remember that. And I know that in the bill that came out of Senate Finance, there was a further definition about brownfields and the inclusion of remediation and necessary redevelopment.
Well, I mean, just since it's been an audit comment, it's been a problem in the audit of TIF districts in the past. It would seem that would be something that would be desirable to be fixed now. Conceivable, could send language over to the House when this gets over there if we don't have time to deal with it here.
Right. Well, this is another, at least on the second part, Senator Brock, was another question I was asked. And this, I think, had been an issue of contest with the auditor.
Yeah, it has been.
The debt service.
Yep.
So I took the same approach. I said, let's do it favorable to the districts, to the projects right now. But I'm sure this is going to be discussed in finance, just like the previous one. These are the two areas where I
Yep.
said finance will deal with it and review it.
Okay.
So moving on to line 11, the definition of nexus. I just want to sort of, as a reminder, this was added in the previous draft to clarify that there has to be a nexus between the improvements and the expected development and redevelopment in the TIF project zone or the outcomes in that zone.
Where does the word integral come in? This is not the place for that.
I believe that,
Well, if you're going to get
yeah,
to it,
it's in the new definition of project, and I've highlighted it because it's new language that VEPSI suggested, but
okay.
project definition in subdivision 9 on line 18. So it's a public improvement that clearly requires substantial public investment over and above the normal municipal operating or bonded debt expenditures. And then what I've added is a project must only include public improvements that are integral to the expected private development and must meet one of the following 4 criteria. So the criteria that was in the previous draft, I've just combined those sentences. So I've added in the part about the project only including public improvements that are integral to the expected private development. So that is new that the committee has not discussed.
I think we do. I think we have discussed it.
Or sorry, that you haven't seen it in the language yet.
Yeah. The A through D, that's existing language for projects, for districts, I mean?
There are additional criteria. There are additional criteria that districts have to meet, but the 4 that are here are part of the, I think there are 6 criteria and they have to meet.
3 or 2.
So sorry to jump in, but the districts have to meet 3 out of 5, and the 5th that isn't listed in this list is need. They have to show that they need this. That language, instead of being an option, is put into the definition to say first you have to have need and then you need one of these 4, because we found that all of the districts apply for one of the 3 is always need. So the other 4 are the same, but instead of 3 out of 5, it's just 1 because it's one project rather than 10 years of projects.
And my recollection is we talked a bunch about this in committee last year, and this is what economic development came up with last year, right? Or are we changing it from the bill we passed over to Senate Finance?
I believe the only change would be the
need
further definition of improvements to.
Right. I'm just talking about
Yeah.
A through B.
Yeah,
Okay.
those are the same.
Yeah. Okay.
I think page 7, the last sort of additional definition, which you've seen before in the previous draft, is adding in a definition of the TIF project zone to sort of indicate what the area of the project is, where it's located and what parcels would the project would have to have nexus to.
So is this where if we wanted to narrow the definition of industrial park, we would do it?
That is a little further down. You could do it here as well. There is another definition of industrial park further down where I've highlighted that question, but it probably makes sense to put it in both places if you're going to change it.
Okay.
In terms of the pilot program, so I left this sort of as an open question of, right now it's a 3-year program. Do you want it to be 5 years? And then right now it's 6 projects. There was a discussion of 10 to 15 projects, so I wasn't sure what the final decision was on that. So I kind of just left it as an open question for the committee.
I thought maybe we weren't clear, but I thought we were sort of going. I know we talked about $5 million as a cap on an individual project, and I thought we talked about 15 over, I don't remember if it was 3 years or 5 years. Does anybody recall what passed out of our committee last year? This is one where I don't necessarily want to be too deferential to finance. I know in finance, we had to negotiate down to 6 over 3 years, but
Yeah, and this is now only 2 years. I had thought we talked about a longer period.
It's
no, it's 3
three
years. It's 3 years.
full years. And you actually had the 1.5 million cap and removed that. So right now there's no cap,
Okay.
which
Uh,
I don't know if there was another decision to put a cap back in, but
I thought
So-
we talked about a $5 million cap.
$5
Am I
million.
crazy?
Yeah, that was my understanding. Do you remember, Becky, or does anybody remember what left this committee last year in terms of the number of projects? I know it wasn't what came out of finance. I'm pretty sure, I'm almost
It's
certain.
easy. It's easy to look up.
I'm certain it was 15. I don't just know over what period of time.
I
I
can
think
try
it
to
was
look it up-
15. That's what I
look it up
remember.
quickly.
What did you say, Senator Brock?
I said, I thought it was 15. That's what I remember.
Do you remember the number of years?
No,
No.
I
But
don't.
it's, I can look it up on our website. What was I can't remember what the bill number was though.
In an effort to move us along, are people comfortable with putting in here what we passed last year? I think we're fairly, unless it's not 15.
Yes.
Let's put 15 and let's put the time frame the same as we did last year.
That's fine with me.
Yeah, Becky, you drafted it, right? I mean,
Yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head. I'm trying to look it up.
yeah. I don't even remember the bill number is my problem. Or I'd look it up.
Well, let's, Becky, if we could keep moving on.
Yeah.
we can
Sure.
turn to
And so last year you passed out you had a 1.5 million cap. I remember that. I looked that up. So do you want me to put a cap back in?
5 million. Yes.
Okay, so that would go into the definition of project.
Okay.
Good.
So I'll change the length of the program and the number of districts to what was passed out of your committee last year.
Thank you.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So then there is, this is the next little bit of language is something you've all seen before, is the authority for VEPSI to establish the program, to use tax increment financing for a project. In terms of eligibility on line 17, municipality can only apply if they are serving one or more active designation approved by the Vermont Downtown Development Board or located within an industrial park. And this is where
Right.
I have that question about
Yeah, I have,
how close.
I've asked Kate to weigh in, and I would, if we can continue our conversation, and I hope but I would hope that we could have it close to downtowns and village centers so that it isn't just sprawl in another green field. So there are two that I'm thinking of, one in Randolph and one in Springfield, both of which are located in close to downtowns, so that they would be, anyway, for reasons of keeping sort of industrial stuff out of the downtown, but close by. So I'm hoping that in the next few minutes I'll have an answer on that sort of mileage that makes sense.
Would the possibility of changing it to, enhancing an existing industrial area so that it's not a greenfield development? My only concern about having it close to a downtown or village center is keeping that type of truck traffic out of downtowns and village centers can be better for the community that doesn't want to see that type of manufacturing truck traffic coming in and out of that area where there's other traffic congestion. But but agree that this is not, the idea of this is not to encourage greenfield sprawl in any way.
Right.
So if it's an existing industrial area,
I think that's fine. Part of me wants to keep it an industrial area and not for commercial or retail, for further development to enhance an industrial park to compete with a downtown.
So
Yeah.
this bill has a long way to go, obviously. At our last hearing, I opposed including any industrial park. I was convinced by Senator Clarkson that it's okay if it's close to downtown. I'm not okay with Commissioner Director Sullivan's suggestion, but I'm only one vote. But I would say that I'd like to have this viewed not only as an economic development bill, but a smart growth bill. And the gut and optics of putting money into industrial parks right now is not how I view this bill. So I'll defer to the committee's decision on that. But I like the way Senator Clarkson was going. And, as the bill moves forward, if you can make your case in the House for that, I'm sure we probably won't necessarily draw a line in the sand, but I don't want to do it out of this committee at this point.
Okay.
Let's move on.
Okay. Okay. So in terms of the approval process, this was added in last version to sort of enhance, to clarify what BEPC is doing in terms of approving an application and what that application has to include. This is similar to what is required for TIF districts. It just wasn't in the bill as introduced. And on page 9, line 16, there are some process requirements as part of this application. This is just a technical fix here. There was a reference to it has to meet 4 requirements, but there were only 2 listed, so I just updated that. And page 10, line 11, in subsection F, this is dealing with how a municipality incurs debt to pay for this project. The sort of last draft and the original, as introduced, discussed a municipality having only one authorizing vote to incur indebtedness, and this language is changed to say that if that vote fails, they will have sort of an opportunity to go back for one or more subsequent authorizations. So it's not just a one and done kind of situation for that municipality.
Can we, I don't know if people remember, this came from us from White and Burke. They were very strong on the possible, there's a fairly narrow window here, but they were very strong on the fact that it may take 2 bites at the apple to get something like this approved. I'm sort of mixed mind, but a small compromise could be to say present one more additional subsequent operation, as opposed to the way this is written, they can come back 3 or 4 times to the voters.
Well, not with the time frame we've created.
Yeah, I know. All right, let's move. If people are okay with this, we could just leave it.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah. Okay.
So also in this section on incurring indebtedness, there's some language about when the project is created. So kind of when the clock starts for, retaining increment. And I've left this as an open question of whether it's tied to when the municipality votes to approve the debt or votes to approve the project plan.
Okay,
and
so this,
I think
this
this
is-
is something Megan was gonna discuss.
right, so
further.
this was a question that was posed to me and I couldn't answer it because I don't fully understand the policy implications so I asked Megan if she could address this, tell us her preference and why.
Sure. So the original taxable value is the base value that will continue to go to the taxing authorities. It's only the increment that goes to pay to the TIF fund. So the original taxable value for a municipality in the TIF district program is set April 1st of the year that the municipality approves the TIF plan. The retention of increment starts the year that the debt is incurred. So there could be potentially 3 years between the time that the municipality approves a plan and the time that debt is incurred. And during those 3 years, the original taxable value is set, but the taxable value of the parcels may change independent of the TIF. That may be that the grand list has been, or the values have been shrinking slightly, or if there's a reappraisal, maybe they've gone up slightly. But the effect is that the original taxable value isn't necessarily, when it's set, when the municipality approves the plan, isn't necessarily a completely accurate reflection of what the original taxable value is prior to the TIF project because of those years in between. So the proposal was that the original taxable value be set the year that the municipality vote to incur debt, so that it's a closer reflection of what the actual original taxable value is prior to the TIF project and private development.
So in the case of, if we assume that property values are going to go up, if we set it at the time of the bond vote, the town would get to keep more money, or would they get to keep less money?
If you
Of their
set
tax
it at the
return.
time of when the municipality approves the plan,
No, that was not my question.
right, then they
Set
would
it at
get,
the time. My question is, if we set at the time they approve the debt,
if they approve the
Does
debt
that-
and the value had been going up in the years since the plan, then they would be getting less. The original taxable value would be higher, so they wouldn't be taking in as much of the increment that wasn't there.
so the TIF district would suffer a little bit.
Well, they wouldn't suffer. I think the
Hey,
suffering,
I'm gonna,
Yeah.
I'm gonna cut, this
Sure.
is kind of confusing. What do we do for TIF districts right now?
it's April 1st of the year, the municipal body approves the TIF plan.
This is another one that really affects the sharing between the ed fund and the municipality, which is the biggest source of controversy in, I think, the finance committee. So I'm going to suggest that we just go with what exists for the regular TIF districts, and we continue to review this in the finance committee. How does that sound to committee members?
That's okay with me.
That's fine.
Okay,
So that's votes to approve the debt. Is that correct?
what? No.
Right.
For the district program, it'd be April 1st of the year that the municipal legislative body approved the TIF plan.
The TIF plan. Okay,
It's
sorry.
the second choice there, I think.
Okay. Got it. Okay. The next couple sections are nothing new in terms of getting the original taxable value and how the tax increment is set. I believe. And stop me if you want more detail, I think we've walked through this before. Page 13 is how a municipality can use the tax increment, and this is similar to what is available for TIF districts. And I believe all this is similar here. The reporting requirements and audit requirements come next in here, and that again is pretty similar to what is required for the TIF districts. And I think, yeah, and then there's the ability of the Secretary of Commerce and Community Development to issue decisions if there is kind of any inquiry or issue of noncompliance that occurs within that TIF project. That also is
that-
available for districts.
Is that new? Is that in response to all the controversy with the auditor, or does this exist already in the? districts?
This exists already for TIFs. I believe it was passed in 2015, or 2016, but I'd have to check that.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
it
this is the
exists
process
already.
that's already in place, just in case there's a difference of opinion on, if there's an issue of noncompliance or any other type of issue, what the process is to deal with it.
Okay.
And then I'm just noting here on the last page that subsection O says that VEPSI can adopt policies that are consistent with the 2015 TIF rule to implement this section. So there's not really time to implement a new rule specifically for the projects, but they can use what's in that rule to set policy for the TIF projects. And that I think are all the changes. I was able to look up the bill that passed out last year from your committee had 5 years and 15 districts.
Okay.
5 years now.
Okay.
Can we keep that?
Yep.
Yep. We should.
So I do have to head to another committee in 5 minutes, but I have 3 changes, and can I review them with you?
Yes, let Nathan know when you have those ready, and
Okay.
we may get to a vote today, or we may do it first thing in the morning, depending on how other things flow. Does anybody have any other questions or concerns for Becky before she runs off? Thank you, Becky.
No, I think this is good. I think we're in a good place.
Okay, so I'll just review the changes I'm going to make, which is to change the length of the program to 5 years and the number of districts to projects to 15. I'm going to put in a $5 million cap on projects, and I'm going to change the creation of the district to when the municipality votes to approve the TIF plan.
And you're going to take out the industrial parks.
Well, we're gonna wait for language on the industrial park, right?
No, I actually think we should wait and see what I've actually been thinking about this, and I think this is a municipal opportunity. We have, probably 200 towns that this could possibly be used for. I'd rather wait and see what the uptake is for municipalities before we spread it to industrial parks. And I may be crazy on that, and the House can revisit and think it. But I think this is yet another, downtown and village center support tool. And I think for the beginning of this, I'd rather keep it that way. I haven't heard from everybody, but as I think about it, industrial parks have other options and I don't know. That's sort of my thinking at the moment.
Okay, I had been convinced by you and the other director, but that was my original
I
position.
haven't heard, I'm happy to, I haven't heard from Bob Flint, because they're the two I'm thinking of are the ones that are close to downtowns, but it's not, the issues aren't just the proximity to the downtowns. The issues are also if this would then spur competition development that would put the industrial park in competition with the downtown, and I don't want to do that. I would only want to do infrastructure that enabled development within the industrial park that was industrial and not commercial or retail.
Okay, so let's do this. Let's take it out for now.
So there are two
This-
references which I'll remove in the next
Okay.
draft. Okay.
This bill will be around for at least another week. We're going to have much more free time next week. There will be, I think, on several of our bills, we may be having continuing discussions for potential floor amendments. We have that luxury. So this might be one as we hear more, if there's an elegant way to get at both things here without
Right. And I'll keep working on it.
totally eliminating industrial parks. We'll come up with that as we go forward. But Megan, Becca, you can go.
Okay.
gonna
I'll
give-
let Nathan know when the draft is ready.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Megan, I mean, unless there's something new, we're gonna move to a vote on what you see. If there's something you think we're doing drastically wrong, tell us now. If you want to thank us for moving forward what we're doing, you can do that as well.
Thank you for the prompt, and thank you all for your work on this. It's, I think we're excited about the opportunity to implement this pilot project, and greatly appreciate all the support from the committee in working through the issues.
Okay, great. Thank you, committee. I don't, and thank you, Megan. I don't see, I thought we were going at 9 o'clock, which we're past, to UI, and I'm not seeing the usual folks here. We do have Damien, who could get us started.
He's hardly usual. You're unusual and
It may
exceptional
be that
always.
there were a couple of changes to the schedule, so it may be that the Department of Labor believes they're not coming until 9:15, which it almost is right now. Nathan, is that possible? I mean, they're usually very prompt.
I never received confirmation from them that they were going to come in the first place.
Okay, so why don't we take a 5-minute break now, and why don't you reach out to them and see what their availability is for the next hour and a half. Okay,
Sounds good.
thank you. Why don't we say 10 minutes? Okay, 10 minutes, which put us at 9:25.